Hello, this is Tim Burns, and for my second presentation, I chose to do it on cryptojacking. A few of the topics that we're going to be going over: cryptocurrency and crypto mining. Some of us, maybe know what these topics are, but I wanted to go over them because they really help correlate into what cryptojacking is, why it affects us, and the technology of today. So cryptocurrency is a digital form of currency. It's an alternative to what we are really familiar with banks and credit cards. These type of institutions act as the middleman. So whenever there's a transaction of money taking place, they're there to make sure that the sender actually has the money they're sending and that the receiver actually gets the money that they're expecting. And what cryptocurrency is trying to do is essentially remove the middleman in that situation. So Bitcoin is one of the most well-known cryptocurrencies. It was created by a person by the name of, or by a group of Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2009. And I was saying it's one of the most famous versions of cryptocurrency. And there's a famous story that where there was someone that actually used like 10,000 bitcoins to pay for two pizzas. Again, that was kind of when it first came around. It wasn't really worth much, maybe a dollar or so. But now it's kind of gone up. The price has gone up and down. But right now it's right around $3,500. So it was quite an expensive purchase. So just wanted to bring up Bitcoin because I'll probably be using it in a couple of examples, and just wanted you to be familiar with it. So how does cryptocurrency work? It's based on a technology called blockchain. And I think some other students have posted in the discussion forum, and I think there may have been a student that did their first presentation on it. But just walking through the slide, for example, if a user A wants to send money to user B, a transaction, which is known as a block, is sent into a decentralized virtual network where all the nodes in that network have the same blockchain. Also, you could think of it as a ledger. So that transaction is then validated to make sure that user A has that money. Once the transaction is validated, that block is then added to the blockchain, and user B receives the money. And then the blockchain, which has now been updated, is sent out to the rest of the network so that everyone has the same blockchain. So the validation process is where crypto mining comes into play and where some of the money is made. This process requires a lot of computing power to do the calculations of the validation. As we looked at, when a new transaction occurs, miners are kind of in a race to see who can validate it first, because whoever does is rewarded with the 12.5 Bitcoin. So again, once that is done, the block is added to the blockchain, which is then shared with all the other nodes. And one key note is that the blockchain is not really modifiable, just because all the nodes and networks share the same blockchain. And while someone could try to edit it, because it wouldn't match up with what everyone else has, it would essentially be invalid. And this prevents a process which is known as double spending. So this validation process, also known as mining, is very expensive. It takes a lot of computing power to do this, which in turn requires a lot of electricity, which costs money. Just to put it in perspective, the average cost in the U.S. to mine one Bitcoin is roughly around $4,500, and surprisingly, in Venezuela, it only costs $530, which I thought was interesting. But I'm sure there's other constraints that go into doing that in that country. Another thing is, the cost of equipment needs to be taken into a factor. We're not just talking about, laptops, someone's laptop to do this mining process. People are putting like, essentially entire data centers into this mining process. Something else that was interesting, it was estimated that the Bitcoin network as a whole it consumes about 2.5 gigawatts with the potential up to 7.6 in the future. So just to put that in comparison of what entire countries use, Ireland uses roughly 3 gigawatts, Austria at 8. So this is just kind of showing like how much electricity and how much power is behind the mining process. And there's even some have come out and actually have said how much, the kind of the environmental impacts that the Bitcoin network has had because of the electricity needs that it costs to run it. So, we've talked about cryptocurrency and how it works and the mining process that is involved with it. And there's money to be made, but also hackers obviously don't want to be spending money on power and resources. So what they want to do is try to steal processing power and electricity from others, which is brought us to cryptojacking. Cryptojacking is a malicious activity in which an infected device is used to secretly mine for cryptocurrencies. In order to do so, the attacker makes use of the victim's processing power and bandwidth. In most cases, it's done without their consent. So how does cryptojacking work? There's two popular ways. One is, your basic malware, and the other is in-browser mining. So one thing hackers are kind of notorious for is not reinventing the wheel. So malware has been around for quite some time, so they're using the same tactics, whether it's phishing or just getting you to click on bad links in some way, form, or fashion, so that they can get software installed on the user's machine. And again, we're not talking about just laptops, desktops, personal devices, tablets, phones, etc. Are all at risk. And one thing that hackers are trying to do is run that fine line of getting their programs to use just enough resources to not make the users aware of what may be going on behind the scenes on their computer, so that they won't try to clean it or uninstall it. So in-browser cryptojacking, this is kind of a popular way because hackers don't have to try to get their software installed. Only thing they have to do is get you to get to a targeted website and have your browser open. And again, some of these websites are owned by these hackers, so sometimes it may not be the most legitimate website. So it's something else to keep aware of, where we're visiting. Some sites possibly use this as alternative forms to ads for generating income. And an interesting statistic from McAfee Labs noted that in the first quarter of 2018, they noted a 629% rise in the total usage of coin mining software. So it's something that is being used, and we definitely need to be aware of. So hackers are continually going to try to push the envelope and see where else they can target. And enterprise networks have two things that cryptojacking really needs, which is computing power and electricity. Data centers have both of those. So that's one area where hackers have tried to focus their efforts. And again, they're going to try to run the same fine line of using enough processing power to where sysadmins won't notice. Also, with enterprises, they may not be they may be more concerned with other security areas such as lost data and compromised accounts, breaches, that they could possibly miss, these small processes that are running in the background. So in conclusion, we've covered kind of at a high level some of these topics, but it's really interesting if you think about it. Maybe 10 years ago, which is not too long, cryptocurrency was at its infancy. It was really green, somewhat of a dream concept, but has become somewhat of a viable option. There's actually legitimate companies that are now accepting Bitcoin, such as Newegg and Overstock. Some of Microsoft stores accept Bitcoin now, and anywhere there's money to be made, hackers are going to be there to try to exploit it. And no matter who you are or where you're at, whether you're a home user or enterprise network, everyone's at risk. So again, I know some of this was kind of high level. I've also chosen this as my term paper topic, so I'm going to try to plan on focusing more on the enterprise level and see how data centers are being affected by cryptojacking. So again, I appreciate your time. Here are some of the references that I used for the presentation. Again, let me know of any questions. Thank you.